Hey everyone, welcome to Let's Get Defensive, the show where we talk about all the walls and coping mechanisms that we've developed over the years to protect our inner psyche from reality.
That is right, Bryan. Today we're going to discuss the ways our defense mechanisms have both helped and hindered interactions with coworkers, friends,
Oh,
family.
shut up, guys. Wrong show. Wrong show.
Hey, don't attack me.
Perfect example.
That's more like the show. That is more like the show. Exactly.
Right. So, welcome to Let's Get Defensive. On today's show, we're going to discuss aerospace and defense companies, mostly defense companies, and their recent news related to PLM.
So today we have handpicked 10 news items across aerospace and defense that we want to discuss in the context of the product lifecycle. What are the biggest challenges that you could be having at this point? Bryan and I like to generally disagree over these, but then come together in applying our critical thread solutions. That's the critical path along the digital thread as part of a digital transformation and how we go about overcoming those challenges. Over and above that, we have plenty more news in the sector, and we'll be taking a commercial break a couple of times, during which we'll share with you quite a lot more news going on.
And coming up, we're going to discuss Saab artillery, Rheinmetall tanks, Oshkosh FMTV, Airbus solar arrays, Blue Origin's rocket, a CICI contract, NASA and GE hybrid air, Hanwha and vertical eVTOLs, AAR supply chain, and Safran targeting.
Looking forward to it. First up, that's right. Saab delivered 5 next-generation Arthur systems to the British Army, enhancing their deep-find weapon locating radar capability. Dubbed Taipan, these systems are replacing the older Mamba radars and were officially accepted by the 5th Regiment Royal Artillery. Now, Taipan offers high mobility, rapid deployment, and increased precision for counter-battery operations and advanced digital antenna and technology. Man, sounds like a lot's going on here, enabling detection of more targets at greater ranges. I mean, future support for this is going to be provided through Saab's Center of Radar Excellence in the UK. But it sounds like the system is already in use in 12 different countries, including 6 NATO members and South Korea.
Okay, biggest issue here for me, connecting Taipan's advanced radar data into the wider command and control system, and all of it in real time. The British Army has got to ensure Taipan's precision and increased range doesn't get bottlenecked by slow or manual data exchanges. Getting that real-time data into the battlefield decision-making system is going to be really critical for this one.
You know, I think it's just fantastic that we've got the delivery milestone, which shows that, one, something's on target, something has gone right, and there's probably some money being exchanged. So great job for everybody involved there. But now, as you kind of hinted at, Andrew, we're looking at the integration and replacement because, you know, what other systems do we have to interact with? Is this a plug and play or probably more involved? What systems need the data from the new Taipan? So for me, in order to make sure integration is done correctly, you have had to make sure that your requirements management was super on par and ready to know what kind of things, what kind of signals, what am I interfacing with? How are those requirements?
Good point. Great point, actually. We've got successful delivery, sure, but the real challenge is going back to integration. It ain't plug and play, Bryan, to your point. Taipan's going to need to interact with a range of other systems, from battlefield sensors to command and control platforms. And that's where design and change management is going to become the most critical for me. First, you've got to focus on DNCM, design and change integration, with the broader critical digital thread. But what does that actually mean? It means that we'll need to make sure that Taipan's data systems are seamlessly integrated into the British Army's command platforms and their other weapon system. That's going to allow for real-time synchronization of radar data, making sure that target detection and battlefield decisions happen without delay. And second, and this is where things I think can get really powerful, is AI-driven solutions into the data processing pipeline. Our AI can prioritize your threats, your flag anomalies, and even automatically adjust parameters for optimal detection, especially in this kind of a fast-paced, high-pressure counter-battery operations. Automating that process is going to reduce your human error and accelerate responses times dramatically.
Until the machines decide to take over and play war games.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. We got some good audience coming in here. Thank you, Diana. You commented earlier. We've got Chaitanya has also joined. Thanks, Chaitanya. Really appreciate your feedback. Keep those comments coming. Thank you.
Yeah. Next up, Rheinmetall is retrofitting Cold War era Leopard 1 tanks with a Skyranger 35 short-range air defense system, transforming them into mobile anti-drone platforms. Initially designed to meet Ukrainian military needs, these upgraded tanks are now going to engage drones and missiles effectively.
Oh, wait, did you just say Transformers? Like, yeah. I've seen the Transformers movies. So like what they can do to take tanks and turn them into other things, it's cool. I guess this is pretty.
You're gonna need it for that old thing. These are real old tanks.
I mean, yeah. What Cold War era is that? The late 40s, early 50s. I mean, we're talking 70-year-old.
Yeah, arguably it's late 40s.
Yeah. That's going to be crazy. So apparently, a prototype called the Gepard 1.5 demonstrated its capabilities in a live fire test, successfully targeting a drone replica. There were a couple technical issues, but those were quickly resolved, which is great. That's progress. The modifications reduced the tank's weight by 5 tons. So what is that?
How much is that?
That's 10,000 pounds.
Now, 10, is that written as British tons or American tons?
You're right. If it's British tons, that would probably be.
It will be British tons. Yeah.
British tons. That's actually close to 11,000 pounds.
Yeah. All right.
But not pounds in British dollars, pounds in like weight.
That's right. Yeah.
What is up with the measurements of countries, folks? This is ridiculous.
It's a lot. I mean, we've got thousands.
We're kind of a little bit out on our own with Imperial, aren't we? Let's be honest.
It's true. It's very true. We've got thousands of Leopard 1 tanks still in use across NATO. This upgrade is going to offer a cost-effective solution to really upcycle and upgrade these aging platforms. I'm excited. It should be good.
I think this is actually super fascinating because a lot of times when we are thinking of new technology, we tend to like throw away, scrap, get rid of the old stuff. But being able to reuse as much of it as possible can help with cost savings, can help with a lot of stuff if it's done correctly. So there's a lot of design you've got to figure out to cost efficiently transform instead of just scrapping and building new stuff. So I think there's an argument to be made for requirements being the number one, but I'm just going to go with, I think, design and change being the biggest area of the whole critical thread process here, because you've got to figure out when I'm modifying this old stuff to work and to work with quality and to keep working for years and years and years and years. So many iterations had to happen in this design process between your design and your testing and linking that all together. So I'm saying design and change is my number one. Andrew, what you got?
Wow, we actually agree.
Where's my mic? I gotta drop it.
This is a classic case of taking legacy systems and pushing them into the future. You're spot on. Sure, there's a strong argument for design and change management being key here. but
wait, are you going to start with AI?
I don't know if I'm going to start, but we'll see. But let's talk about what I think is the real challenge here, making sure that these retrofitted Leopard 1 tanks can handle today's threats, drones, missiles, the whole package. Let's be honest, these tanks weren't built exactly fast-moving aerial threats back in the day. So we got to bring them up to speed without compromising reliability. So here's how we solve it. AI, you got it. AI-driven target identification and engagement. We're talking about a system that can instantly detect, track, prioritize threats in real time. The AI is going to do the heavy lifting here, optimize your decisions and minimize, obviously, human error. We're not just retrofitting these tanks. We're going to make them smarter and we're going to make them faster. A real force multiplier, I would say, on the battlefield. That's how you turn a Cold War relic into a cutting-edge air defense platform.
Do you think that the creators, when they were designing this, had in mind what the potential could be 70 years from now?
No. I mean, we did build things for years, but no, there's no way they foresaw this.
I'm pretty sure that the Leopard tanks never had the thought in their designers of someone being like, "Hey, Leopard, stop those drones."
It's true.
Yep.
Yeah. That's, man.
What's next?
Oh, next up, Oshkosh Defense has received a $73 million contract from the U.S. Army to supply additional family of medium tactical vehicles, FMTVs, probably about 700 of them. This marks the company's fourth FMTV A2 order in 2024. That's right, 4 so far, adding to the $108.9 million contract awarded earlier this year in May. Now, the company is also fulfilling a $231.9 million order from July for new heavy expanded mobility tactical trucks, HEMTT, and related systems. And additionally, a $208 million joint light tactical vehicle order under a 5-year.
Enough. I got it.
That's a lot of numbers.
It's a lot of numbers.
Lot of numbers. Talking of numbers, okay. Yeah. How many FMTVs do they get for 73 million? What's the price of an FMTV?
Carry the one.
Probably around 250. Yeah.
About 250. Okay.
So that's 250,000.
Okay. So that's 300.
Yeah.
Quick math. 300.
Yeah. Okay.
That plus the previous 108.9, I think you said. So that's going to be 400-ish.
Yeah.
Then they got another deal done. I think you said 232 million. So they've got to maybe put together 1,300 to 1,500 that have got to go through production. You know where I'm going here. You know where I'm going. Whiteboards, Excels, clipboards, a blur on the shop floor. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the classic challenge we see every day in factories. Scaling up manufacturing and maintaining your supply chain resilience. The risk here for them is huge, I think. One hiccup in that supply chain, whether it's material shortages or delayed deliveries, and the entire production timeline is just going to fall apart. If they don't manage this properly, they're going to miss their deadlines. The quality is going to suffer. It's not just about building these trucks, is it? At the end of the day, it's about how they get built and delivered without any delays or breakdowns in the process.
That's true.
Tune in to FM TV tonight at 9, where we talk about. I mean, I don't know if FM TVs are a television station or a radio broadcast. Either way, I think you're dead on that. When we're making these family of medium tactical vehicles, which is what FMTV really stands for, that we're looking at manufacturing at scale, and it's amazing when all these contracts come through. But I've talked with companies who have literally said, we don't want to sell that many because we're not ready to manufacture that many. We can't do it. So there's a huge thing about knowing how to manufacture at scale, because once you've got a good product design, you've got to make more. And there's a solution to how to manufacture at scale that I think means you know what?
This is where we get together, or it's all going to fall apart. What's it going to be?
Soapbox.
What was your solution?
Oh, I was putting you on the soapbox to talk about your mess mom.
Okay. So how do they stay on track? Exactly. So here's the solution. I think we need to focus on manufacturing operations, mess mom, and supply chain integration within the critical thread. We're talking about full end-to-end visibility from supplier to production line out to logistics, that whole end-to-end scene. This is going to help Oshkosh Defense allocate resources efficiently and spot bottlenecks or potential delays early on.
And just to be clear, when you say full visibility, that's talking about something that has not necessarily even been a tool that has existed, say, a decade ago. This is where you can have every part of your process literally see like a one source of truth. What is this part from design through manufacturing?
Yep. With suppliers embedded, collaborative, exactly, that whole thing. But I want to take it up a notch. Bring in AI with predictive analytics. Seriously, AI is, if you embed the right AI platform on top of that whole product lifecycle platform for supply chain integration, manufacturing operations, AI will flag disruptions before they even happen, whether it's a material shortage or whether it's a transport issue, and recommend adjustments ahead of time, in real time, right before your eyes. E.g., you could switch your suppliers, you could reallocate your production. AI can also optimize your inventory and keep your supplier performance in check. That's how you scale manufacturing smoothly while keeping your risk to an absolute minimum.
Sounds like a fascinating process, unless you start using that predictive problems to figure out which humans are going to commit crimes and stop them before they happen, in which case we're into Minority Report.
That was a good movie.
Speaking of movies and nothing related to what we were just talking about, let's dive in and find out some more exciting things happening. Since we can't cover all the news in this show, check these out on a break.
Airbus. Airbus will provide Sparkwing solar arrays to MDA Space to use in Telesat's Lightspeed LEO satellite constellation. That contract is actually building 200 solar arrays at Airbus's Leiden, Netherlands facility. Now, these are going to be the largest Sparkwing arrays to date, featuring 2 wings with 5 panels each and covering 30 square meters.
When you've got stuff that big, it gets really bright, you know, like
it does. Yeah. You might want to wear your sunglasses. Keep them on. Now, the arrays are going to power the MDA Aurora satellites, which are crucial for space connectivity in low Earth orbit. Sparkwing being the first commercial off-the-shelf solar array that is designed for small satellites. I mean, I don't know.
You did say these things are huge, 30 square meters.
30 square meters. That's massive.
And gearing up to produce 200 solar arrays. And MDA saying that this is going to be the world's largest high-volume manufacturing facility in the satellite class.
Yeah.
They're going to have the capacity to deliver up to 2 digital satellites a day. I mean, I don't know how to say there's anything more important in this process than having figured out your manufacturing at scale. So the soapbox I would dive in is the one that Andrew just talked about before the break of Mess Mom. But because I've said that, he's going to go somewhere totally different.
Oh my goodness. You got me. I thought you were heading straight down design and change management central. I thought you were on that freeway going down. But you're right to focus on scaling here. And I agree, that's exactly where the challenge is. The biggest challenge is scaling your power generation for a constellation of that size. The Sparkwing Solar 30 meters, you say, arrays, it's got to deliver consistent, scalable power to keep the Lightspeed LEO satellite, LEO satellites operational. As the constellation grows, so do the energy demands, of course, for satellite connectivity and overall mission success. So big challenge. I'm shocked you didn't go design and change. Here's how I tackle it. I'm going production validation, product validation and simulation. That's number one. I would run rigorous simulations under various space conditions to make sure the arrays can generate power consistently, no matter what's going to be thrown at them. Second, they've got to be adaptable. Make sure these tests help us spot any anomalies. I think I got there early, anomalies, allowing us to fine-tune the arrays before deployment. And then thirdly, reliability for mission success. That's going to give that Sparkwing array the reliability they need to power satellite missions, keeping the entire constellation connected and operational 24/7.
I just want to take a moment and reemphasize. So delivering 2 of these a day, with each array is 30 square meters, which I mean, that's a lot of square meters. And it's, I could convert that into normal units too, but it's just fascinating to think like delivering something that big and that complex and functional, and with everything else Andrew just said, it's an impressive achievement.
Yep.
I like it. Next up, Blue Origin completed a critical hot fire test for its New Glenn rocket, moving closer to its first flight scheduled for November. That's right, next month, because it's actually October now, which is mind-blowing. The test validated the interaction between the second stage's subsystems, 2 engines, and ground control systems. The hot fire lasted for 15 seconds, marking the first time Blue Origin operated New Glenn as a fully integrated system. There's a lot of work that has gone into that to clarify that. The second stage stands 26.8 meters tall, designed for missions to low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, and geosynchronous orbits. The maiden flight is going to carry...
Okay, I got this.
Yeah.
Seamless coordination between ground systems and the rocket's autonomous operations.
Yeah.
As these whole real, the real pressure kicks in when you're dealing with deep space missions like Mars. That coordination between New Glenn and ground control isn't rock solid in real time, the whole mission is going to be at risk, isn't it? Especially as that rocket transitions through the multiple stages of orbit. You miss a beat up there, you got a lot of trouble going on.
Yeah.
You said hot fire test, right, Greg?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Hot fire test.
I think it's interesting. Like, so the hot fire test is in most of the processes for development of stuff in the A&D world. It's a pretty important test. And in this case, the hot fire test was to validate the interactions between all the subsystems on the second stage, on the 2 engines, and on the ground control systems, which brings us back to some of the stuff Andrew just talked about with the coordination between communications here. It was only a 15-second hot fire, but it was a super important 15 seconds. And it was also an opportunity for the launch operations team to practice the launch day procedures on the console, to verify timing for critical operations, which means a lot of stuff happened in this test that's actually really important to just the testing process overall, and how that integrates into all the rest of the entirety of your PLM and your critical thread processes. So I just want to highlight, for me, these kind of things, I feel that testing is really the most important aspect, specifically because once something like this is launched, if you didn't test correctly, you can't fix it later.
Bryan, we did it again. We agreed. You nailed it. But how do you solve it? Number one for me is product validation and simulation. We got to hit this hard in the critical thread. That means you're going to run rigorous simulations of every operational condition, whether that's your launch, whether it's your orbit, transitions, ground interactions, all of it's got to be simulated for me. It's got to be flawless from a human control to full autonomy. process. So number one. Number two, let's bring AI in. You've got to bring AI into this whole thing. I think now AI is going to be the game changer on this one. We'd use it to analyze all that operational data and to predict the failure points. It'll simulate multiple flight scenarios. It'll adjust for real-time anomalies. Why do I keep trying to say that word today? I don't know. And even recommend corrections before launch day. So it'll also optimize the decision making when the rocket's out there on its own as well. So that way, we're going to make sure that both the ground crew and the rocket are dialed in and ready for the real thing. No slip ups. Just mission success.
When you talk about product validation, you're validating that against something, which are, of course, the test results. But all of those are coming from the requirements management that you put together in the first place. Like, what requirements does this thing have to meet? So I think it just really highlights the entirety of when we deal with something like, while we like to highlight what we think the most important aspect is for any one of these, you can't really have a successful product launch unless you have really figured out all of the aspects of your product lifecycle.
100%. It's end to end.
It's true. CACI International has secured a $273 million task order to provide intelligence expertise to U.S. CENTCOM for the next 5 years. Obviously awarded through U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command, the task involves protecting U.S. forces from foreign threats. That includes delivering all source intelligence, biometric analysis, surveillance resources, really supporting decision makers within U.S. CENTCOM.
I think for this, it's super interesting because you just mentioned a whole lot of basically services and expertise being delivered as opposed to a product that's a physical product.
That's correct.
Which is a little different than what we normally talk about on this particular show. But it's something that we are knowledgeable in because that tends to be what we're selling to folks is our expertise and services, right? So I think, in this case, CACI is providing intelligence, the security operations, the identity biometrics, but all of this with like the tasks that are ensuring that they have the information and the reconnaissance resources to make analysis that they're trying to mitigate threats, to help customers thwart all the complex threats that can happen around the globe. So I think this is interesting because when you say, hey, I'm going to just deliver a service and expertise, the thing you've got to figure out is what are the expectations on both ends and what are the requirements here. So for me, I'm diving in and saying requirements management is the number one thing, the most important one I'd be looking at.
Spot on, but here's the real challenge.
Here it is.
Here's the real challenge. They are swimming in massive amounts of data. And to me, that's the bottleneck. That's the risk. The biggest challenge is going to be sorting through and analyzing all of that intel quickly enough to identify and respond to the threats in real time. That data volume is going to be enormous. And without the right tools, they're going to miss something pretty critical, especially with how fast these threats are evolving all the time. So, sorry, Brian, I agree.
Wait, I'm going to guess. Is one of the tools, does it involve AI?
Duh. I mean, why wouldn't, let's be honest, why wouldn't it involve AI? That's the question. Why could you take the risk of not including AI in these solutions? That's my view on this one. You've got to be considering that if you want to be on the cutting edge. So first up, AI-driven intelligence analysis. AI is, if you like, the secret sauce on this one. It's going to cut through massive data sets faster than any human team is capable of. We're talking about identifying patterns, anomalies, I got it right this time, and threats at lightning speed. Yep. Then you've got your automated threat detection. AI is going to flag the highest priority intel, so decision makers aren't sifting through irrelevant data. And then lastly, you've got your predictive insights, so that it doesn't just react, it predicts, and we can use it to forecast potential threats and give US CENTCOM, thank you, the ability to act before something actually happens. And with that approach, they're not just keeping up, they're staying ahead. And that's what's going to make the difference in national security.
And I will say, I think was it sometime last year we talked about how AI had helped a research where they're trying to figure out better materials to use for a manufacturing process. And they had thousands and thousands, like hundreds of thousands to go through of combinations. And
Yep.
AI shifted through all that data and did what would have taken humans years in, a matter of days. And
Exactly.
so, whenever you are dealing with a massive data, you're right. Being able to shift through that and analyze it in a way that can work faster than our little brains is pretty good.
Yep.
So true. NASA and GE Aerospace are developing a hybrid electric engine under the Hybrid Thermally Efficient Core project, HITECH. The engine combines a traditional fuel-burning core with electric motors, which is supposedly going to significantly reduce fuel consumption and emissions. I wonder how significantly. I think it was around 5-10% with the embedded electric motor generators. The project's goal is to have this engine concept ready by 2028, potentially bringing that hybrid electric technology to airliners by the 2030s, which is great because that's part of NASA's Sustainable Flight National Partnership, which is aiming for net zero aviation emissions by 2050.
Okay, I got this. I'm jumping in on this one. Hybrid electric jet engines.
Yeah.
We've got part fuel, part electric up in the air. But I'm going to throw it to you, Bryan, on this one. What's the biggest challenge here? Come on, I know you're itching to go design and change. Give me your best shot. What do you think?
I mean, I think design and change is definitely the first thing my mind thinks of, because there's got to be so much testing happening.
Because it's the first thing your mind thinks of.
So right now, today's jet engines are not really hybrid electric at all. Like, we know we have generators that power things like lights, radios, TV screens, and those kind of things in the air, but there's nothing currently that takes that electric energy and powers the engines. And the challenge is figuring out where in the process to use the electric power for the electric motors, but also we know that batteries are kind of heavy. So if we're going to try to store anything, how do we do this and make all this work in a way that optimizes performance, optimizes weight, creates a system that can work with, or maybe even without energy storage like batteries, to help accelerate the introduction of a hybrid electric technology for commercial aviation? So I think there's a lot here. And for me, the biggest thing is design and change. I mean, you are making a design that is unlike, it's similar to and can be use some of the knowledge we figured out with cars, but it's also a very different requirements process, everything. So I'm 100% design and change.
Not bad, but let me take this home. The solution is simple: design and change across the whole life cycle. I'm with you. From concept to certification, you've got to make so we're together on this one. For me, I just want to extend the whole design and change thing, because I think it's underestimated and people think of it in a very, a small box or a slightly extended process. This is concept to certification. You've got to make sure these hybrid systems work 100% with the existing infrastructure. Every design change needs to be seamless, keeping both performance and safety in check. Now, let's throw in a bit of artificial intelligence. Why not? AI-driven tools are able to simulate your engine integration, predict how these hybrids behave mid-flight, and even optimize your energy usage. And it doesn't stop there. AIs can even help with predictive maintenance, catch the issues before they become, real big problems. Bottom line, whether or not you're just blending gas and electric, we're ensuring this transition to hybrid aviation is smooth, it's sustainable, and it doesn't miss a beat when it comes to performance. Boom. There you go. That's how you solve it.
One thing happening here too, because you mentioned how the design and change touches, in this case, it's got to touch the whole process, right? So we're dealing with things in the air, which means we're dealing with FAA.
Yes.
Which means your requirements has to also fit in. So every time you make these changes in designs, you've got to say, do these still match all of these regulations and requirements? And I think that's probably use for even using some of the AI you're talking about to verify all of this.
Yep. Traceability through to certification. With you.
As long as the fuel doesn't have salt in it, didn't I hear something about salt and batteries not mixing well recently?
After the Helene.
After the hurricane that just hit the East Coast, I think they said there were 5,000 cars that were submerged, or electric vehicles that were submerged. And so far, 36 of them have spontaneously caught fire. Wow. The salt, when the salt is like dried on the outside of the batteries, it can actually conduct electricity, create heat, and cause problems. So
makes sense.
But if you're in the air, it's colder up there, so I'm sure we're fine. We're fine. Yeah.
The air will just blow the fire out.
Exactly. And
they're pretty easy fires, right? When a lithium battery catches fire.
Right. Exactly. And while your brain's thinking about, oh, wow, I need to go make sure my car is free of salt, check out these exciting headlines. And we're back.
And we're back. Hanwha Aerospace. I'm excited about this article. This is exciting to me, but not in the way that Andrew will be excited about it. But Hanwha Aerospace and Vertical Aerospace have expanded their partnership to develop the tilt and blade pitch control system for Vertical's VX4 electric aircraft. Now, the VX4, for those of you that don't know, is a 4-passenger electric air taxi, which has 1,400 pre-orders already from companies like American Airlines, Virgin Atlantic, JAL.
Is this the year we get the Jetsons to actually happen?
Maybe this is the year.
What, 2024?
2024. Yeah.
Nah.
Not yet. The collaboration now is covering all actuation systems of the VX4, which enhances Hanwha's role just in UAM technology. It's exciting for them. Their technology is going to be incorporated into the next VX4 prototype, which is set to fly in the UK in early, I think, later 2024, maybe early 2025, targeting type certification by 2026. The VX4's blade, pitch, and tilt systems are key for stable flights, making innovative progress on the eVTOL sector, which we're all about.
What I just heard is you said they're going to be designing, testing as a collaboration. This means data collab, security, all of these things are going to be of the utmost importance between Hanwha and Vertical. And you are going to honestly need, I mean, this is a whole process. You're going to need to have the real-time one source of truth system capable of sharing data across multiple companies, multiple locations with proper data control, revision management, integration requirements, test results. I guess I'm basically saying in this particular design, I think all of it's important.
Oh, that's a sit on the fence. Nice try. Nice try. Come on. Feeble attempt at the #1 challenge.
Look, I didn't want to dive in and talk about design and change again because you say, oh, Bryan, you always talk about design and change.
Let's get real. The big one here for me is precision and stability in the tilt and blade control, pitch control system. We're talking vertical takeoff and landing here. It's not just like cruising around down a runway. This VX4 thing has to handle all kinds of conditions. And if that control system isn't dialed in, you've got a serious problem on your hands. Okay, here's how we crush it, in my opinion. Number one, product validation and simulation. You know what number two is going to be, and I'm going to ask you in a second. First up, product validation simulation. We need to put that tilt and blade control system through every possible scenario. High winds, tricky landings, busy M25 around London, all the way to emergencies. You're in the air, don't care about that. It's about making sure that the actuation systems perform flawlessly under any flight conditions. That's number one. Number two,
I'm going to go with, and you're probably going to disagree, but requirements management.
No. Certifiable stability. I mean, that's it. We know it. All the big problems are getting FAA regs and certification.
He's making up terms now.
No. So it's basically certifiable stability. The simulation, again, will guarantee that the aircraft stays stable and safe, meeting all of the standards required for certification, so they can actually get this thing flying commercially by 2026. I thought you said 24, but I think I also heard you say they need to be up there by 2026.
2026 is when they're trying to get it fully certified.
That's aggressive. I really, really hope, and I want to be first in line. I got to be honest for this. I know, Greg, you'll be like at the back of the line.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite side. I'll let you do it.
Yeah.
Send me a video.
Someone's got to go first. I agree. We're not just testing here for the sake of testing. Of course, we're ensuring that this eVTOL will actually fly right and deliver on its promise of stability, safety, etc. But I'm really excited. I mean, when you get into the airport and you want to get into the city, it's just a slog, no matter which city you land close by to. I know these things generally offer the use case of flight times of 6, 7, 8 minutes. I remember looking at LaGuardia into downtown New York. It was something like 7 minutes. I mean, great, bring them on.
That's right.
Greg is not excited about all the potential air taxis.
Yeah, I'm excited about
the to do with defense, though.
I'm truly excited about the efficiency. I just want to make sure safety is fully there first.
Yeah, I'll wave to you.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. Next up, the AAR Corps and Defense Logistics Agency, Land and Maritime, signed a supply chain alliance charter to strengthen support for the U.S. warfighter. Now, this formalized partnership is aiming to improve efficiency by streamlining contract awards, reducing administrative lead time, improving delivery times for critical supplies, etc. I mean, this is great. It's going to benefit from a dedicated resource within the DLA, ensuring faster execution of contracts, enhanced supply chain management. This is great. This is really highlighting their commitment to providing those value-added services.
Okay, let's third time lucky, Brian. Third time lucky on this one. We've got a solid partnership between AAR and DLA, but the real challenge here is reducing supply chain complexity for me and the lead time as a result of that. We're talking about defense logistics, which is always a beast to manage. And any slowdown in that supply chain means delays that affect the warfighter directly. Streamlining these contract awards and supply processes is critical to keep operations moving and getting supplies where they need to be fast. So, Brian, what do you think? You think you got this one locked down?
I mean, I'm going to completely disagree with you and say the most important thing is supply chain. No, I mean, I think the whole idea here is about streamlining supply chain, and we know that the supply chain affects everything else. You can't manufacture without supplies, so it's going to have cascading impacts on the entire rest of your product lifecycle management process. This charter is taking an existing partnership and helping make it with better responsiveness for the warfighter, which is going to improve customer wait time, lower administrative lead times, and have actually, I think, a dedicated resource within the DLA for AAR to use to help expedite the contract awarding and execution processes, which means reducing labor hours, which means expedited delivery of products, just so many areas that can be improved here. And so I think it's basically saying, hey, let's minimize the red tape that is affecting the supply chain so that we can actually have a whole entire better PLM process as a result. So it is just kind of showing the importance of how important having a figured out supply chain is for any company. And I think AAR is going to really benefit from being able to have a streamlined supply chain.
So your solution is the entire product lifecycle process?
No, the solution is how having a good supply chain will better the rest of your process.
Okay. Pretty close. But here's what I think to knock it out of the park. Supply chain visibility and contract management. That's the key. You need a real-time end-to-end system connecting AAR, DLA, and the OEMs. That means full visibility into where everything is. So track your supplies, manage your contracts, forecast your demand. All of it and it all has to happen in real time. No more kind of guessing and I'll update you in a week, etc. And that's where we bring in, when you talk about everything real time, bringing everything together fast, AI.
We're going to bring in real intelligence.
Or even, artificial. Okay. Predictive analytics. It's going to anticipate your delays, recommend your alternate suppliers, and even automate your contract approvals. We're talking about cutting down lead time now significantly and getting those urgent supplies where they need to be, right where they are needed.
That brings up a really interesting point, in that one of the big things we deal with is that whenever we have data being shared between organizations, between different people, all that data has to be controlled based off of, your export control, your clearance levels, et cetera, et cetera. So when you're dealing with defense, that's even more important. When you bring AI into this, you've also got to make sure that that is limited and restricted to, one, what the AI is supposed to see, but also what it is going to, the people that get to view the information that it produces. You still have to do the same controls on that information as well. And the audience of viewing versus the audience of looking is going to be different, right? So it's like it's an interesting, a whole nother can of worms and red tape get opened up.
No, you're right. I mean, AI has got its own cybersecurity issues. There is AI cyber security as well, and then, as you say, you've got to integrate it across all of the layers of that solution. Even your data lake and your logic formers, all of those kind of things have got to have the cyber interacting with them and authorizations.
Greg, every time I hear data lakes, and because of Andrew's love of AI, I just picture, you remember Scrooge McDuck swimming in like the gold coins? Yeah. It's Andrew swimming in like the data lakes with the AI raft around him or something.
Yeah, I feel like there's a movie, Eagle Eye or something like that. I don't know. There's this, when we're talking about cybersecurity AI, it concerns me. It's just like flying on, an electric jet. it'll be crazy. Hanwha Defense Australia has chosen Safran Electronics and Defense Australia to integrate the Paseo Joint Fire's panoramic targeting sight on the Australian Army's Redback infantry fighting vehicles. I know that was a lot of words real quick, but clarification, the Paseo system is really enhancing that survivability and lethality, providing advanced target acquisition and reconnaissance capabilities with 360-degree coverage, day and night sensors, high rate scanning, Safran's Geonix inertial navigation system for accurate positioning in those GNSS denied environments. There's a lot. And then Safran is supporting the design, integration, and sustainability of the system in Australia, building on their 5-year relationship with the Australian Defence Force.
This may not be the weapon of the week, but it's going to be the thing that powers what could be the weapon of the week.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Bryan, double or quits, buddy. It's your last chance. We're talking here about Safran hooking up to the Redback IFVs with advanced targeting sights. There's a lot riding on this one. What's the biggest challenge? You got one more shot.
First off, just so our viewing audience knows, IFV is an infantry fighting vehicle. And so these are basically, they look like we think a tank, right? Like variations of tanks. And we're looking at trying to put in a new targeting system into the existing IFVs. So for me, this means taking a look at what other systems does this targeting need to interact with. The weapons that are going to use to shoot stuff with them, or to target with them, like how it gets the data, how anything else, what uses the day and night sensors, the high rate scanning, all the stuff that Greg listed off. How is that going to go into the existing systems and be put onto the plane, which means or not the plane, we're on the ground, the tank. So we've got the integration into the existing systems, which means we've had to look at the requirements of and spell those out specifically of what sort of data needs to be outputted, what needs to be read in. I'm just going to say integration to existing hardware.
Not bad. But here's where you really got to double down. The real challenge, I think, on this one is accurate targeting in GNSS denied environments. When the GPS goes dark, and it's going to happen, you still need these redbacks hitting their targets accurately for both survivability and lethality. You can't afford to miss, of course, in that environment. So here's how I would solve it. You got to look at one, product validation for the GNSS denied ops. We need to test that Paseo targeting site and the GeoNix inertial navigation system under the worst case scenarios, like, for instance, battlefield conditions where GPS is knocked out. As I mentioned, it's all about making sure that the systems will function flawlessly and keep those IFVs lethal at all times. And then secondly, rigorous testing. We need to push those systems to their limits across different terrains, different climates, and combat conditions to make sure that they deliver every single time. That for me, that's how you guarantee these redbacks stay effective and mission ready.
And if they can't send all of that data to the weapons that they're supposed to shoot the targets, it won't work. So integration. And on that note, this is Bryan, Andrew, and Greg reminding you that the future is bright.
Have a great week ahead, everyone. See you next week.
Bye.